And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here this morning and every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I can't thank you enough for being a part of the broadcast every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. So appreciate you. Hope you're having yourselves a wonderful morning this morning. Of course, we are inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. They are open for sales and service Monday through Saturday, so make sure you head over there today. Let them know the DT sent you, and of course, find your next ride. New and used vehicles are available to you to buy and lease. Go to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Once again, here, Great Lakes Honda City Studios, and you can get a sneak peek of all of the wonderful product at Great Lakes Honda City by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com right now. So head over there today, and appreciate y'all for all the work you do to the team there at Great Lakes Honda City, serving me for over a decade as well as my family. So much love for that. Inside of today's broadcast, inside of MonPosPopcorn.com's What's Poppin', giving you a list of topics and guests for the day. We're going to start things off with Gina Cittadino of Moyne history. She just finished up her time at Moyne College. She hails from Utica, New York, and her special will be here with us today as she has been named the 2025 Northeast Conference NEC Scholar Athlete of the Year with a perfect 4.0 GPA. Her story comes up first today as we talk to Gina, who has been a member, will always be a member of Moyne Swimming and Diving, went from being a walk-on on the team a few years ago to being with this NCAA Division II program to being a captain of the team as it transitioned to NCAA Division I. So from walk-on to captain, from D2 to D1, Gina Cittadino joining us here today to tell her story, and I cannot wait. And of course, people are like, you're wearing the WTF shirt, Dan, but this is a family show. Yeah, you got to read the fine print. Where's the food? Because very proud to be Italian and Hispanic here, so wanted to share this shirt, and you'll see what this shirt means in my conversation with Gina coming up momentarily. And in hour number 2, around 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, I'm going to be joined by Dave Pasiak, who has been with me to talk about the NBA through and through here, and we will continue our conversation on the NBA, Mike Brown to the Knicks, as well as NBA trades, NBA Summer League, and other NBA news coming up here with Dave Pasiak in hour number 2 in what we call DT and DP with the longtime basketball coach and analyst. So a lot of great things coming up here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora this morning inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. We're going to take a step aside and come back with our special with Gina Cittadino right after this.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpaspopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Come to Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us inside of the Great Lakes Honda City studios. And of course, we are in our exclusive multimedia marketing partnership with Moyne College. And I have Gina Cittadino picture in picture with me, Moyne Swimming and Diving alum. That's weird to say. And 2025 NEC Scholar Athlete of the Year. We both have names that end in vowels, our last names. So, there's Italian blood. So the WTF for all of you going, Dan, you're a family show. I would say read the fine print. It says, where's the food? It's not a swear. So with that being said, Gina, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Dan? Good morning. I'm excited to be here.
And great to see you. Great to catch up with you here. I know that, we have a lot to unpack and a lot to get into. But first and foremost, I would be remiss if I didn't officially say congratulations on being named the NEC for the entire conference Scholar Athlete of the Year.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It was such an honor. And honestly, I didn't even know. My friends sent me it when it came out, and I was like, oh my goodness, wow. So it was kind of crazy. It was a shock for me, and I'm so grateful. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I mean, the great thing about this too is, honoring the student side of student athlete, which Moyne cares about, right? The student and student athlete. We don't see that in Division I everywhere. So just what it means to you to have your student side of things be such an integral part of your experience at Moyne.
I think it's really important because the student aspect is what helps you get through the rest of life. As much as athletics teaches you these lessons along the way, so does being a student and learning all this knowledge. It's really valuable. I think education is such a privilege, and being able to have the opportunity to both learn and become a better person academic wise and as an athlete is just super important. And we do things at school with the Jesuit values like cura personalis, care for the whole person. And I think that really encompasses what it means to be a student athlete. You have to care about, wanting to be the best at your sport, but also wanting to do the best in the classroom as well. We're leaders on and off our respective, sports teams.
Yeah, and we live in a world where college is kind of frowned upon at times. Why get an education? Why pay for that? It's a waste of money, this and that. The collegiate experience, from my point of view, it's the bridge between being a kid in your parents' house and being on your own. It's this middle ground of where you're on your own, but you're not officially in the real world by yourself. You're kind of like out of the bubble, but still in a bubble. And it's great bridge between being a kid and being a young adult. So what would you say to people that say college isn't worth it? I shouldn't waste the money. What would you say to that?
I feel like college has honestly made me such a more well-rounded individual in all aspects, because you're getting this new sense of freedom in the sense that you're not, at your parents' house anymore, but you still have the support of,
your friends and your area directors and the community that college creates. It's kind of like your own little bubble. Everything's, at least for Lemoyne, because it's so small, is everything's basically walking distance away. You can just walk to the gym if you want to go to the gym. You want to go to a campus event, it's like probably 10 minutes down the road, like a 10-minute walk. There's not much driving there. So you have that community that you're fostering. And I think that college just helps you open your mind to new ideas, new perspectives in the world, and be able to talk to new people. And I think that that's really important, just the human connection aspect of college. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, so many things that are close, and I mean, on a campus like Lemoyne, everything within a few minute walk, and you have the opportunity to interact with people. I know that might sound crazy. I'm going to look into the camera here to those of you that are on these things all the time. I know that you feel connected, but you're disconnected, and on social media, constantly scrolling. I always find it funny when I go into a restaurant and I see two people sitting at a table with each other and they're both on their phones. And I'm like, okay, they're texting somebody that's not here. And then they leave that person and they go hang out with somebody else. And they're probably texting the person that they were just sitting across from that they didn't spend any time talking to. You talked about the human to human element. How important is that in today's world to put the phone down and to just be like we are right now? I mean, we're picture in picture. We're not in the same room, but we're looking at each other. We're having an open conversation. How important is it to have these real, genuine conversations away from the scrolling?
I think it just helps you be so much more present in life. I think being on your phone all the time, sometimes I find myself, if I do go into a doom scroll, which happens, or whatever, or I watch TV before bed, I just find myself being extremely grumpy or just like a little bit more irritated for no reason. But, when I'm with my friends and just really present in the moment or just talking to someone, you're like, wow, that was great. It was really great getting to know that person. I'm so glad that I got to talk to them about what they were doing this weekend or what their plans are, or how they're doing. It just feels really nice to have that connection with someone, no matter how big or small that connection might be.
I feel like with both of us having an Italian background, that we're spoiled to the reality of whether it was 1960, 70, 40, 2000, 2010, 2025. The Italian family sat around a table. We have dinner. We have Sunday sauce. You're supposed to interact with each other. So in a technological world that is becoming obsessed with numbers and AI and computers doing things for us, why do you appreciate being Italian? And do you think that being Italian somewhat preserves you from the technological world?
Oh my goodness. I think that in Italian culture, just being with your family is a huge aspect of it. And I'm sure it's like this in other cultures as well. But I talk my hands all the time. I was actually sitting on my hands to prevent the hands from flying everywhere because it's a big part of my self-expression. But I think there's always that community aspect and the fact that, you want to sit down and see how everyone's day was and you want to do that. And I'm not saying it necessarily protects me from social media because I'm still on it and I'm prone to it. But, having that time at like the dinner table and just like putting phones away, like it doesn't even seem like a big thing. It just is kind of normal in our household or at family gatherings and events and stuff like that. Or like my church every year does a big Italian festival and we're always like out there volunteering. It's just like great to get out and see people. So I think in a way, the Italian like culture is just very inclusive and just we love to chat about anything and everything forever, probably the same point about 50 times just to say it. So we just like to chat.
Yeah, you made me feel better because sometimes I repeat myself and maybe we just call it the Italian echo. So
yeah,
that's essentially what it is. Now, you and I can both live in this world of we've probably had friends or someone that we've come into contact with over time that has said, why are you talking so loud? Why did you interrupt me? Can you let me get this out? And I want to dispel, I just want to give people a sense of reality. In an Italian household, if you do not speak up, then you don't get to say anything. We have to speak up.
there's 14 conversations going on at once.
Mm-hmm.
In order for us to get on the freeway, we can't just peacefully come onto the freeway, go 40 miles an hour and wait. We have to swerve into the on ramp. We got to go about 75, cut a car off, go 82, go 90, slow down a little bit, swerve into the other lane and keep going. So can you kind of go with me on the fact that if there's anybody that you have interacted with in your life that has been like, Gina, why are you so loud? Why do you interrupt? Why do you get so like with your hands and you get, emotional or you just get really into it? Can we just, let everybody know that it's something that has to do with our culture? And it's not that we want to interrupt you, monopolize, or take over a conversation. It's that we're used to fighting for a place at the table, essentially.
No, absolutely. I could 100% agree, especially when I get really excited about things. My hands start flying everywhere and I start talking a million miles a minute. And it's just, I think I'm a fast talker in general. So say it even comes to like school presentations, they'll be like, Gina, were you nervous? You were talking so fast. And I was like, no, that's just how I talk. Like, that's just how I am. I talk fast. I talk a little loud. Sometimes I can be a lot, but it's just who I am. I don't mean it. I'm not yelling. I'm just, I don't know. We're passionate about the things that we talk about. That's all.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. And I believe, culture in America can thank Italians for a lot of the stuff, the family values, the sitting. I mean, there's a lot of great cultures that have made up America, but I feel like, the manners that I was taught and the way that we kind of carry ourselves, I still think it's right. Like, I think if my grandparents were on this earth right now and they saw me not hold a door open for a girl, either one of them, like grandma, grandpa on either side could slap me in the back of the head and I'd be like, I deserve that. So, I feel like there's a lot of values that we've learned and a lot of things that have been instilled in us. And when you have that family aspect, we search for that in friends, right? We search for that in teams. So what did Moyne do to become an extension of the family in your case?
That's a great question. When I left Moyne, I just, every time I would leave to go, to my home here, I'd just be like, wow, I left home. Like Moyne became a second home to me. And I think they do that with all the support systems that they have, whether it was, my RAs my freshman year, which then led me to want to become an RA, or the area directors and the people. We had programming boards that would plan events for us. But even like my team, just always having a team to rely on, whether it's your teammates or your coaches, it's like a built-in family right away. And I'm a pretty social person. And my first day, I told my roommate, I go, hey, we're going to fake it till we make it. We're going to go out. We're going to make friends. We're going to talk to everyone. And she was pretty shy, but I was like, listen, we just have to do it because everyone else is in the same boat. Everyone was looking to make friends and everything like that. But just being like having a team was so great because you had so many people to fall back on. And being a freshman, especially, you had your upperclassmen to be like, hey, like, who do I take for this class? Or what should I do in this situation? Because they've been through it before. Yeah. And I think that that's one of the greatest parts about being on a team in college is having that extra support that not everyone gets a chance to have.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, something to fall back on. You have that team aspect, that built-in family, so to speak. There are teams that say that they're a family and they're not. And there's teams that say that they're a family and they actually have that connection. What is the swimming and diving culture like at Moyne now, having been through it?
I honestly feel like with any teams, there's ups and downs and we go through things for sure. But we've made it a priority, especially within like the last few years, to truly improve the culture on our team and improve the camaraderie. That's been one of my biggest goals as captain for like my junior and senior year, and just seeing how we can grow each year. We've done a lot more team bonding, especially with just like the girls team or just the guys team, because a lot of the time, women swimming and diving, men swimming and diving, we practice together, we travel together, we do a lot of things together. Yeah. But I also think it's important to see ourselves as much as one team as we are two separate teams. And, you have to build that within each other and do things together as one big group, but also have your moments to just bond with the girls and just bond with the guys. And I think that that's really important as well, and has made a huge difference because you can't really talk at swim practice. Other sports, there might be some downtime and, whatever. We have like 30 seconds on the wall before we're starting the next set, and you should have better been listening because maybe you're not going to know when to go. swimming, you do a whole conversation within a 2-hour practice because you're only getting bits here and there when you get like a chance on the wall, you know?
Yeah. I could just picture Adam Zakowski, like you're there and you're like, hey, how was your date last night? And he's like, get in the pool. And so like, I mean, that's gotta just because he's quick. He's just with it. And we're gonna talk about Adam in a second. But before we do that, Coach Hannah was the coach when you were coming in. So I'd love to get your thoughts about Coach Hannah because you came in as a walk-on, and I would love to hear that story and just what it was like to speak with Coach Hannah and obviously have a love for swimming and find your way onto the team when they were in Division II in the NCAA as a walk-on.
Absolutely. I committed to Le Moyne, I think on decision day, when I was graduating my senior year of high school. And I was like, wow, like I did an accepted students day. I said this was a really cool place. I really loved it. And I was thinking, they were talking about sports and I was like, well, I swam in high school and middle school. I loved it. Why don't I just reach out? The worst thing that they could say is no. And at the time I really didn't know much. I went on to the Le Moyne website and just kind of sent an inquiry saying hi, saying that I was interested. And Coach Hannah got back to me. And to my shock and honestly disbelief, he let me have a spot on the team and gave me the opportunity to be a collegiate athlete, which is insane. And he was honestly such a great coach. His work ethic was amazing. Whatever you were doing in the pool, he was doing those workouts. I mean, not swimming with you, but he would make such intentional workouts. And especially our dry land, outside the water workouts, he would be doing them right there with us. He would be sweating more than you were. He was doing it better than every single person on the team, in better shape than all of us. I think he probably still is, I swear. But he just had such intention with his practices. And it was challenging. I was challenged every single day that I went into the pool. And, navigating my freshman year on the team was difficult because I didn't really know what I was expecting, what I was walking into. It was a brand new to me. And it was definitely a shock. I was like, wow, am I even good enough to be here? Should I be here? Lots of doubt that went through my mind my freshman year. But looking back at it now, I'm so proud of myself for continuing through it and, learning and growing so much. It challenged me in ways that I've never been challenged before. But Coach Hannah was fabulous. I really enjoyed getting to know him.
Did he tell you why he let you have a walk-on spot, why he believed that you could be a part of the program?
Actually, I don't think so. I don't think I got an answer from Coach Hannah on why I was allowed to get on the team. But for whatever reason it was, I think it changed my life for the better for sure. It was pretty awesome.
So you had Johanna, and then Adam Zakowski was an assistant and also swam for Le Moyne when he was a student athlete. When he took over, what was that interaction like? Was it, hey, we'll look at giving you a scholarship? Was it, we're going to keep you in this walk-on world and see what happens? What was that interaction like with Adam initially?
I think it was honestly, we're just going to keep doing it the way that we've been doing it. Adam was a big reason why I continued to swim after my freshman year. I really struggled at my first champs. I didn't swim as well as I wanted to. Particularly in like the 100 butterfly. I don't really remember. I probably did well in my other events, but that one was just really getting me. But he was honestly the reason that I even wanted to come back to swimming. He made me feel like I did add something to this team and that I did have potential. And it was nice just knowing that he saw that in me and grounding me in that moment where I really felt out of control. So Adam's just been wonderful in that way for me and helping me work through almost this discomfort with failing at something when I'm used to, in the academic world, doing well, when I'm trying and putting in the effort. But swimming, you don't always get that immediate gratification that I was able to get in academics.
And so, I mean, when you are so successful in the classroom, you talk about the word failure. And I'm going to give you kind of what I see, and then you can tell me if you think I'm totally wrong. But when you go after what you want in your life, when you're willing to step out of your comfort zone, when you are confident and courageous, and people misunderstand, courageous doesn't mean that there's an absence of fear. It means that you've decided that fear is not as important as your faith, not as important as what you're striving to do and looking to accomplish. So I'm going to give you a little angle on this. And like I said, you could tell me if I'm totally wrong. I don't think that someone who goes after their passion, what they desire, what they believe in, what matters to them, what's at their core, what they pray to God about, if you go after that and you don't necessarily get the outcome that you want, you don't get the A in the classroom, you ask somebody out, they say no, you go to get a job, you don't get the job. You are swimming, you don't get the time that you want. In my case, growing up playing basketball, I make 2 shots, I miss the third one. Like when there's this world of people describing failure, I don't think I've ever failed because I've always bet on myself and I've always strived to do the best I can, and I've sought to learn where I've made mistakes. So, do you think that you ever truly have failed, or do you see it in a similar way as me and say, hey, I might have not have gotten the best day in the pool, I might have not gotten the numbers I wanted, I may have not have had the best moment, but I wanted to do this, my heart was in this, and I went after it with everything I had?
No, looking back, I definitely don't think that I failed because I never gave up on myself. I kept going in those challenging moments, even when I didn't feel like I was good enough to be on a Division 1, Division 2 swim team. So overall, I'm just so proud of myself that I kept going. I think that built more character and helped me grow as a person more than anything else, is learning to be okay in the discomfort, learning to be okay that I'm not the fastest one in the pool and I don't have to be the fastest one in the pool, learning that I do have a spot on this team, I'm wanted, and there's value to me being there, and just trying to help everyone else and pick them up as a teammate. You know what I'm saying? Even if it might not be my best day, it can be somebody else's best day. And even if I just was a big supporter on the team, I would much rather, even if I wasn't having a great day, support my teammates and lift them up. That always helped me, help me find my purpose on the team as well.
So, Gina, when you go from being a walk-on NCAA Division II to going through Division II and then the transition to NCAA Division I and being a piece of this team, and then going from walk-on to captain, when you look back at your time in this rare story, it is rare that walk-ons can become captains. It's rare that a walk-on is going to go through 2 different divisions in NCAA play. In your time at Le Moyne, you did so much and accomplished so much. You got an opportunity to be a part of a team. Then you helped lead that team into Division I, and then even more so as a captain. Have you reflected on the fact that you went from maybe the redheaded stepchild feeling, right, to being the person that is standing there as an extension of the head coach, as a voice? Have you reflected on the fact that you have one of the most tremendous stories that I've had cross my desk? Has that hit you yet?
I don't know if it's fully hit me. I think in the past few months, like being out of school, I've had some more time to reflect. And as I haven't been in the pool for a few months, I really look back and kind of think it's unbelievable. Sometimes I wake up and I go, I can't even believe I swam for 4 years. I can't even believe that I did that I woke up early every single day, early morning practices, going to classes wet, missing school for meets and all that, juggling, not only the swimming aspect, but juggling school and the administration side almost when you're captain, and, talking with the coaches as well. And I'm just so proud of myself for doing it. I think I really made the most of my experience on the swim team that I could have. And I hope that I left a great impact. I feel like I did, and made impact on other people's lives. I hope to stay in touch with them because truly this team meant so much to me. And I can't wait to give back the most I can, keep in touch with people, see their accomplishments. It means the most to me being on that team.
Well, like you said it means the most to you. Why such a deep meaning? Why such value that you feel like this is going to be with you forever?
I think just because I put so much of myself into the team, not only into bettering myself as a person and as a swimmer, but as to hopefully trying to better others and making the team culture better, and hopefully providing a foundation for the seasons to come, the teams to come, the people to come after, to have such a great experience, as great of an experience as I did.
Here with Gina Cittadino here with us, Moyne Swimming and Diving alum and a 2025 NEC Scholar Athlete of the Year, and a card-carrying Italian, which is very important. So you're from the Utica area.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have spoken about this before.
Yes.
People will say to me from time to time, are you or someone in your family involved in the Italian extracurriculars? And I just look at them. I stare. Now, I told a joke to my friend from Ghana, my friend Patrick. So he comes over from Africa, and he, this thick, done. And so he had this very thick way. And so he's sitting next to me at dinner in college, and I said something. I was just talking about being Italian, and I said, well, when Italians throw bodies in the river, like, they don't come back up. Like, no matter how shallow the river or the lake or anything is, like, you realize our bodies stay on the bottom. And so he's listening to this, and I was like, do you want to know how? I said, right before we throw you in any body of water, like, you could be in a little pond, but right before we throw you in, we dip your feet in cement. So we give you cement shoes. So no matter how shallow the water gets, you just kind of like bob like this. I will never forget the look on his face when he looked at me and he goes, oh, Patrick. He looks at me and he goes, done. And I said, what? He goes, you have done this before. And then I was just like, no, I have not. I promise you, I have not done it before. But when you tell that story, some people might question enough to leave you alone. So, I mean, that's a stereotype, and I think we have probably the coolest stereotype of anybody out there, which is people want to be around Italians, and they get a little bit scared if they cross one. So, what are your thoughts on that world that people always wonder about?
Oh, honestly, I don't know. I don't really. My family, I don't know. I feel like I don't really hear about it too much. I mean, I hear stories, but like not like from my family personally. But I've heard the stereotypes, and you see it in the movies and how it's portrayed, and it's just funny. Or I feel like the way the Italian Americans talk, like that sort of culture. In my household, we like cut off end syllables of words. Some of my friends are like, "What are you doing? What do you mean? It's like not. Why are you not saying mozzarella?" And I'll go like mozzarella. Like, that's just what we say at my house. I don't know what to tell you. But it's funny. I think it's awesome. Like you said, I think it's a pretty, quote unquote fun stereotype. But it's awesome. It's awesome. I love being Italian.
Me too. So I'm going to throw this at you. You already said one correctly. Mozzarella is mozzarella. So I'm going to throw some at you and see how you would say it. Okay. So RICC or RICOTTA. It's a type of cheese. How do you say it?
Ricotta.
Yes, ricotta. So you cut it off at the end. There's no A. You put a G in there for whatever reason, and that's what you say. Okay, so the soup, pasta, FAGIO, IOLI. How do you say that?
Pasta fazool.
That's right. Now, so I'm going to tell you, I was working in a restaurant back in the day, and we had four different soups at the time, something like that. And I'll never forget where I remember where I was in the restaurant. And I went over to this guy and I said, what would you like? And he said, I have the pasta fagioli. And I looked at him and I said, what? And he said, the fagioli. And I said, what are you talking about? He goes, it's right there. And I was like, okay. All right. I thought to myself, like this, in those moments, like an Italian, we need to step away from you. All the weapons need to be taken. Like, we have to be out of the kitchen, put the knives somewhere. We need to be talked to. I needed cold water on my forehead. I needed to like go to church. But I came back to the table and I said, sir, we didn't have any pasta fagioli, but I was able to find you some pasta fagioli. He didn't understand what I was saying, but
but he just kind of looked at me, and I thought to myself, that's got to be the worst party foul of anybody ever attempting to say an Italian word in my life. But there's one that's close. M-A-N-I-C-I-C. Wait, M-A-N-I-C-O-T-T-I.
Wait. M-E-N.
I-C-O-T-T-I.
Oh, wait. I don't know if I know that one.
So
I would say,
so Americans say manicotti.
oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. Like, I don't know. What did you just say? Like manigot, like manigot, something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know.
Yeah,
I don't know what
monogot.
that is.
So yeah, people look at me, they're like, monogot. They're like, that there's no way that manicotti and monogot are the same. I said it's the same. I said,
No.
listen, when you are stuck, put a
Mhm.
D or a G or both. Like marinara sauce, marinara.
Marinade.
Yeah.
Marinade, you got it. Yeah.
So, and there's some Italians that put the A, they say ricotta, mozzarella. So they put the vowel. Your family and my family, we cut it right off. So
Yeah, exactly.
I love it. Look at this. We are teaching you all around the world right now how to speak proper Italian food. That's what matters. Like if you want to survive around Italians, you just got to know how to say food. Because if you're in an Italian household and there's like 40 of us and we're in a room and you say manicotti, mozzarella, fagioli, or what was the other one that we had here?
Marinara.
Or marinara. Well, look, I mean, somebody's going to look at you and go, hey, is that Gino's girlfriend? Is that his girlfriend? Get her out of the house. Somebody's going to do that. But I will say this to you, Gina. So when I do shows with high schools on site on location, their team is always like right off camera on the other side of the camera. They're all around us. And right before we get started, I got a couple kids that'll be up there with me. And so I got the coach and I got some student athletes, and the rest of the team will be staring right at us. They're about like 2 steps away from us, even if that. They're blocking the door to the restaurant. They're like here. They're 3 or 4 deep. Every time I see that, I can't help myself. I always look at the kids next to me and I go, do you see this right now? You see how your teammates are blocking the door and all staring at you in silence, waiting to make fun of you, waiting to say something about you, to critique something, to yell something out? I said, this is the scene that every man or woman has to look at when they bring a guy or a girl home to their Italian family, in my opinion. Is that fair?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I think that's, yeah, totally fair. When I brought my boyfriend to meet my family, I was like, it's a lot. There's a lot of people. Like, you're going to have to say hi. Like, it's a whole thing. You'll be fine. It's okay.
How were they? Did they do the silent stare? Did your dad come up and like move knuckles around with his hand? Like, did mom? Because normally mom is nice, and then if she's got a problem, mom is very, very nice. But then when they leave the house, like the door's not even shut, and she's like, I don't know about him. So like, was mom nice? Dad stern? Was there somebody in the house that was really silent, kind of like a sniper? What was the experience like?
No, actually, everyone was very, very friendly. Everyone was very, very nice. There were no things. The big one was, I think, my brother's graduation party. He came up for that weekend, and he met a lot of my family for the first time. And I heard that, like, one of my uncles were, like, ripping into him and being like, you better treat her right, and all these types of things. It was just kind of funny. I heard about it later. I was like, oh, my goodness.
Well,
but not surprised.
No. And you know what? You just gave the perfect Italian answer. I asked you if anybody was mean, said anything bad, or in any way, shape, or form was scary. And you said, no, absolutely not. They were all wonderful. You protected the family. So it's just what you have to do. So Gina knows, hey, you know where your bread is buttered, literally, at the house. So do you have in Syracuse, since you went to Lemoyne, do you have a favorite bakery or place to get Italian bread? There's one correct answer, but I just want to hear from you if you have a place.
Oh, Italian. I honestly, so I didn't have a car on campus, so I really didn't get out much. So I don't really know any good Italian bakeries and bread, but I did love going to Avicoli's for dinner. That was probably one of my favorite Italian spots to hit out when I was out in Syracuse.
So you say Avicoles, very correct answer. We are proudly partnered with Avicoles, and I love their tortellini. I love
Hmm.
everything over there. Their Italian wedding soup, because not everybody does that right. They have really good margarita pizza, and they have a grandma's pie, which is the square with a little bit of sauce, cheese. There's like a texture that's different than the other pizzas they have. Then they have a dollop on each slice, a dollop of mozzarella with a little bit of
Hmm.
basil. It is, I think God hand prepares them. But I have to ask you, what's your favorite meal at Avicoli's?
All right, my go-to is the vodka riggies. I just think you can't go wrong. Their vodka sauce is delicious. I love it there.
And that's what I get with the tortellini. I get the vodka sauce, and I either get chicken or shrimp. I, so the correct answer for bakery and Italian bread is Lynn Court, which is right off of Court
Mm,
Street. And
okay.
their Italian bread is incredible. They have the long loaf, then they have the circular one that you can cut, and
Yes.
they have donuts that
Hmm.
nobody knows what these are. So, do you know what a Kigley is?
I don't know if I do. No.
Okay,
A Kigley?
so the Kigley, it's a long donut, chocolate or vanilla on top. It's not filled with anything. It's not an eclair,
Oh,
but
oh, oh, okay. I know what that is.
the long john.
We
Yeah,
just call it a finger. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, you call it a finger. So there's the long john, and then we call it a Kigley. So I didn't realize this until recent years. But if you go out of this area, people don't know what a headlight
Hmm.
is. They don't know what a tail light is. So headlight, tail light, Kigley, and then you and I have discussed this, but I want to dispel this on actual video and audio so that there's a record account of this. There's upstate New York, and then there's
Yes.
that little tiny island that I like to visit, but it makes a lot of decisions for the rest of us, probably drastically different than how most of us upstate New Yorkers are. So it's like Little Island, us. We call a cookie that is split in half black and white, they call it a black and white. And some people will die on that hill. You call it a,
Call it a half moon cookie.
which is the correct answer. And if you go to New York City, they're like, "Oh, do you want a black and white?" That's too many words. And I told you this, it's half moon is so short. Half moon, 2 syllables, boom, boom.
Hmm.
Because if you say black and white or black and white cookie, and the time it takes you to get those words out of your mouth, someone has eaten 3 of the cookies. There might be one left in the box. If you say black and white, and I will stop eating and I will look at the person and go, why? Why? Like there's no reason to call it that. And during Easter, they change it. Sometimes it's white and pink. Sometimes for
Hmm.
different holidays, you got red and green. So I'm just not a fan of that. Now with the half moon though, are you putting vanilla cake underneath, or are you putting chocolate cake?
Um, Honestly, depends on my mood, but I feel like the chocolate is just such a classic. Like I feel like that's how I usually have it, but I like the vanilla every once in a while.
Okay. Well, so far today in the studio, I've taken a tally. You've said chocolate over vanilla. You said half moon. You know what a Kigley is. You just call it something else. We have pronounced our words the same when it comes to the Italian words. And
Hmm.
so I think, and we both talked about Avicoli's, how much we love it, and the vodka sauce. So just so that you know, I've sent all of your answers to the judges. The judges have now texted me back. You're 100% correct today on Dolphin Dive inside a wake up call. So how about that?
Oh, thank God. That's good. I'm glad I passed. Woo.
So, mom and dad watching this show,
Hmm.
what do you think the first thing they would yell at a screen? Like they see you on the screen talking about your life, talking about family, talking about your journey and all that. What do you think is the first thing mom yells at the screen? First thing dad yells?
Oh my God, look, it's Tina, look. I feel like if they'd like before even listening, they'd be like, look. And then they would just be excited and like listening to the whole thing. They'd be laughing like along the whole thing, talking about Italian families and everything. My dad would be cracking up, I'm sure of it. So that's what I picture their reactions being.
Now, what are mom and dad's names?
Phil and Jennifer.
Phil and Jennifer. What would you
Mhm.
like to say to Phil and Jennifer for the young woman you are today in society? What would you like them to know about what you appreciate up to this point?
I'd really like to take a chance to thank them for instilling me with such amazing values growing up and making me, a good kid, I think. And really, a big thing that my dad always talked about is that like my last name means citizenship, like in Italian, and always to represent yourself and take that to heart. So that's something that I've always kind of grown up with, and know that whenever you're putting yourself out there, you're representing us and you're representing our family. Um, and, just to be kind to everyone. I think that they always instilled like a sense of kindness, regardless of if you know them, if you don't know them, even if you're not their best friend, just being respectful to everyone that you come across. So I thank them for, helping me become the person I am today, really setting that foundation, because they're the ones that do that.
Well, I would absolutely. Well, I mean, it's pretty easy here to applaud mom and dad. So I gotta give y'all some love here for that. You deserve that. And the importance of those values, right? To instill those things, to be kind, to be respectful, to be humble, to be honest, to be real, genuine, and to lead with a good heart. Those are all things that are an integral part of keeping society, right? And not anarchy.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you said, for what your namesake means and all of that, just in how you handle yourself, when you look at the moment that you walked into Lemoyne to now, as
Mm-hmm.
you have stepped out of Lemoyne, how do you view the person that you are becoming and the knowledge and the wisdom that you've gained? When we talk about, your name having to do with how you carry yourself and how you represent your family, how do you feel you've done that from the stepping into Lemoyne to now stepping into your new chapter?
I feel like I think I've done a really good job. I think that there's been lots of, growing along the way, learning things about myself, becoming, more responsible as my time throughout college would go. But I think I've just been doing one step closer every year to becoming, my dream of being a dentist. I just take one step at a time and trying to be as proactive as possible to make my dreams come true, having my family and friends support me, as well as professors, um, area directors, etc., being really there for me.
Yeah.
And I think just, going into every situation, trying to, be kind, being a resident direct, like RA, helping to give back to the community in that way. I think that that's always been, so true to who I am, as someone who tries to give back, and I like to take care of people. I think that that's just been a big part of my life growing up, having that sense of care and wanting to help others. And I think that it's only gotten stronger as I've gone through Lemoyne, being put in leadership positions and trying to, do my best to foster the community that Lemoyne's all about. So I think I've done a pretty good job, and I hope to continue.
Well, there's a lot that you very easily, eloquently put, and it's easy to see it. There's a lot of positives when it comes to what you've done up to this point, how you carry yourself, the type of human being you are, which I've gotten to know, and somebody who speaks very, very highly of you. He calls you the quote unquote total package, like you have all of it. And that is your head coach, Adam Zakowski. What would you like to say to him?
I'd just like to thank Adam for believing in me, but believing in the person that I am. And even in those moments of doubt, when I didn't feel like I was, like I said, like good enough, or struggling in this or that aspect of my life. I mean, he probably knows it all. Like I've talked to him about everything, and I just want to thank him for seeing me for me,
Yeah.
seeing the better in me, and always lifting me up when I need it, and just being there. He made me a better person, a better swimmer, a better leader, inside and out of the classroom. So I just want to thank him for everything he's done for me, because he's been a big part of my time at Lemoyne and will always, be a big influential person in my life.
When he came to you and said, when you found out you're going to be a captain, bring me into that moment for you.
I honestly was a little shocked at first, being, a junior captain. It was something kind of like different from the quote unquote status quo. It doesn't like happen all the time. So really all I wanted to do was do a good job and do the best I can, and really work with him, work with the other coaches, work with my other co-captain, Mary Lauren Burke. Love her so much. I really relied on her a lot my first year being captain, and kind of almost was like under her wing basically, and would try to help and support her in whatever ways we could. I thought we worked really, really well together to support the team. And it taught me a lot about like how the inside and outs of being a captain works. Like, how do you balance that with being a teammate, and then also, you know, having this sort of like authoritative figure as well. So it was definitely a learning curve, and I was so grateful for the opportunity, because I'm glad that my teammates felt safe enough to vote me for captain, as well as the coaches thought that I was a good pick to be a moderator between the team and the coaches. So I just felt really honored.
Adam is a very organized person. I'm pretty confident that he is not only ready for 2037, but he's also ready for the end of the world. So what was it like to work hand in hand with him, be in his office, like you said, have these meetings, sit down with him? What was it like to learn from someone who does appreciate structure and does like to make sure that they handle what they can control?
I thought it was great, because I think that I work pretty similarly. I like things organized and everything in a structured way. I like coming up with a plan. And I think that Adam was always trying to come up with the next thing. If something didn't work out, let's try to find what was the problem and let's fix it. If there was, you know, the team was struggling with something, we would sit down and have a meeting and talk about it. And he was great at, you know, coming up with these analogies for us, or bringing up quotes, or he reads a lot of great books all the time and likes to share, you know, those thoughts and those insights with us. So I think that Adam's always really trying to better himself as a person and as a coach, which is great, because that means not only is he improving as a person, but the team is getting better each year. And I think he's just gotten more and more comfortable as like his 3 years of being head coach have gone by, you know, really stepping into that role and embracing it fully.
A lot of positive words. And so, you know, Adam, I know that you're watching and listening. You owe me one. And also Gina. No, I'm kidding. So there's so many things that I can say, because we've opened up so many doors here, but you and I will obviously talk again. Before we get into rapid fire, though, the NEC giving you the honor of 2025 Scholar Athlete of the Year does not come without you doing what you can control. And that being the fact that you only got a 4.0 out of 4.0. And so when we look at what happened here as the Scholar Athlete of the Year for the Northeast Conference, I want to let people know this. In its 19th year, the NEC Scholar Athlete of the Year Award is sponsored by the league's faculty athletic representatives. It goes to the male and female student athletes who have exhausted all of their athletic eligibility, which you did. You just finished up with that. Graduated, which you did, and compiled the highest grade point average, 4.0, can't go higher, in the conference at the conclusion of the academic year. And NEC Commissioner Noreen Morris, who I consider a friend and I've known for many years, well before Lemoyne decided to even go to Division I, she said, quote, "These student athletes are extremely deserving of NEC Team Scholar Athlete of the Year recognition. In addition to ability, it takes a great deal of commitment to attain a perfect 4.0 GPA, all while competing at the highest level as a Division I athlete. Congratulations to this impressive group." End quote. So you had that 4.0 as a biology major, and also as a senior competed in all 11 meets and recorded career best times in the 50-yard freestyle, 100-yard backstroke, and 200-yard backstroke at the NEC championships. So you hear the words of the commissioner, you know that this is obviously a beautiful honor and representation for you and your family and the swimming and diving program. What can you say to receiving this award and receiving it at a time where you competed in every single meet? So in the classroom 4.0, and then in the pool, every meet, Gina's there, and you had career bests at the NEC championships.
I just feel so grateful and so lucky to be recognized with this award. And it wasn't just me who made this possible. It was all the people that really supported me throughout my journey at my time at Lemoyne, whether it was my professors in the classroom being willing to work with me when I missed material, or like I said, my teammates and my coaches really helping me through swim stuff, but also school stuff. It's never just because of me. As much as I'm helping in there and preparing and doing my best on my end, I can't do that by myself, and I couldn't do it alone. So I really just want to thank all the people who have really influenced me during my time at Moyne. It's been such a special place. It's such a cool honor. I would have never expected this going into my freshman year, and just to see me now, it's really cool, and I'm really proud of myself. But thank you.
Yeah, of course. Well, listen, you've earned it. You've given a lot of credit to your family, to your teammates, to people that are around you. But I can say it. You can be humble. I can say thank you for the work that you've done. Thank you for talking about being a student and not just being an athlete. Thank you for the hard work that you've done in the classroom, because it doesn't come easy. Thank you for representing your family well and caring about family values, especially at a time where this country and this world needs all the things that we've talked about today. And thank you for believing in yourself, because somebody somewhere is going to see this or interact with you or hear your story, and it's going to help them not give up. It's going to help them keep going. It's going to make them think that they can. And so I just want to thank you for the lives that you will undoubtedly help by the fact that you never gave up on your own.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me, hearing that. And this is such a cool opportunity to be able to speak with you today. And it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Of course. Well, Gina, now we get to put each other on the hot seat. We've been emotional. We've been real. Now we get to be real ridiculous. What is your first question for me?
If you think like you could be any animal, what would you be and why?
Yeah, probably be a dog, because I love my girl. Love Lily. She just had her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, I feel like I would be a dog because, honestly, I was talking to my mom about this recently. I'm like, dogs are descendants of wolves, and they're wild. I mean, these are wild animals. And I was just thinking to myself, like, who's the first person that decided, like, I'm going to put this wild animal in my house and I'm going to interact with it, and I'm going to see if it understands me, and I'm going to see if it doesn't kill me when I sleep. And I look at her and I think to myself, God is such an awesome God that we understand the same language. She gets me. I get her. And I have my daughter. Like, I have my kid. She is such, she has every bit of the good things that a human being gives, and then she has none of the bad. And so I just feel like I would be a dog. And yeah, I mean, I think if God said I could do whatever you want the next time around, I would say make her the human, make me the dog, and give me the opportunity to love her like crazy, like she loves me. So yeah, I'd be a dog for sure.
I love that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. My question back to you, Gina. All right, Gina. You and I have to create an Italian event. And we're going to bring it to Utica, because that's your home. So we're going to bring it to Utica. We're going to do an Italian event that's never happened before. You and I are the co-presidents of this event. What 3 things do we bring to this event in Utica to show that we are the party to go to?
I mean, if we don't have sauce, I think people aren't going to go. So I think we need to have sauce. We need to have live music, some sort of band to play some good Italian music. Right. You have to draw on everyone. And I don't know, I think food is just like, the big selling point. If you're going to have anything, you have to have Italian food. So you got to have that. You got to have the music. And I don't know, maybe like, goodness, what are we going to do?
So
That's a good question.
I have a thought, but I want to see what
you have a thought?
I do.
Oh, okay. You might have to help, but Let me hear your thought. I want to hear your thought.
All the couples that are there, we pick 10 of them, and we play the how well do you know the other, because it will cause a lot of laughter, excitement, probably a lot of fighting on the way home. But it would just be, to me, it would be awesome to see, like, because I love the game where, like, you both have a board and you got to, like, pull up and see if you have the same thing. And it's just different in an Italian house because there's going to be so many people with opinions and thoughts. So I think that would be fun. Like, we have a little, how well do you know the other person? We got the food. And then, you know, of course, you have the music. I think we should call the event All Good Things End in a Vowel. I think that's
Oh, I think that's perfect because both of our last names end in vowels. So
That's
it's
right.
just, it has to be.
It has to be. What's your second question for me?
Okay. Let's see. I think my second question is, if you hypothetically could like switch places in someone's life for a day, who would you like to switch with? Just for a day.
For a day. Man. I've always said this, and people that know me know that I'm not kidding. I think some people might think I'm kidding. But since I was a little kid, not for the power, but for the ability to make positive change, I'd want to be the president of the United States. So I'm going to switch places with President Trump, and for 24 hours. I want to find out if aliens are real. So my stomach is going to drop. So my big brother Joey, his fiance Diana, so she's in the military. And I said to Diana, I was like, I got to know. So I was looking at her, and she's just honest, nice lady, whatever. So I looked right at her. We were standing in their house. This was a few weeks ago. I said, Diana, are aliens real? Dead face. She looks at me. She goes, yes. I was like, what? And so, like, I was losing it. My stomach went deeper into my, and she goes, no. She goes, this is my personal opinion. I don't have any military. Yeah, right? See, you almost died too. So, like, that's the thing, is like, you did what I did. Your reaction, I saw your face and I thought she had, her stomach just went from her throat. It went up to her throat, back down to your stomach. Then it went like it was going to fall out. You almost passed out. So when she said that to me and she was like, yeah. And then I was like, she's like, no. She said, I don't have any documentation. It's just my personal belief. I said, Diana, you can't come up on somebody like that. Yeah, it's like, you can't, because I heard things in the middle of the night sometimes. I can't breathe right. So it's like, you cannot tell me. I'm curious, George. I want to know, but I don't want to know. So, like, when she said that and she was dead serious, I've not seen a woman more serious than, like, and she was like, yeah. And I was like, and she's like, no. Every time I bring this story up, I feel exactly the same. My stomach is like ready to lose it, because I was like, you cannot say that stuff to me.
No.
So, yeah. So
that's funny.
Yeah, that was a real deal. That was freaky. I forgot what was the question that you asked me?
If you could switch places with anyone for a day.
So I'd be the president and be the president for 24 hours. I would do a lot of speeches because I know some presidents like to hide. So I would not hide, and I would make a lot of speeches, and I would give my full thoughts on things. I would see how much power I had to enact positive change, and I do as much as I possibly, like, I would do everything that I possibly could that the next morning when I woke up, nobody could take it away. So, like, all the things that I would do. And here's something some people would consider crazy, because I know that upstate New York is so rarely represented by New York government people because they only care about New York City. And I want you to think I don't like New York City. I do. But they don't represent us. And I have somebody who is a good representative of upstate New York, and God bless him, and he knows I love him dearly. I would do some law that would give us more representation in upstate New York, if not severing New York City, Long Island completely, and letting us vote on our own, so that upstate New York could actually have a voice. Because I think a lot of people in upstate New York feel that whatever the island chooses, we're stuck with.
and we very
Mhm.
rarely feel like we're heard. So I
Right.
would put something into law that upstate New York would be able to govern itself and not be at the mercy of New York City.
Gotcha. I like it. That was like so thoughtful. That was so
I
thoughtful. I
couldn't
loved
tell
it. Do you
by
know in high?
I couldn't tell by your face. I'm like, does she hate it or love it? I can't tell because you just went,
No.
So,
No, it was just interesting. I'd like never thought about that before. I don't know. It was so well thought out. I didn't even think you were gonna go there. I love it. It's great.
so
I was actually voted most likely to be president for my high school senior superlative. So maybe one day I'll be president.
well, I will tell you this. I need a Secretary of Defense because my very close friend that I consider a brother, Isaac, he is refusing to be my Secretary of Defense, not because of me, but because he has served so many years in the military. So he said no. And I said, well, I need you in my cabinet because I only trust a few people. So you could be my Secretary of Defense in his defense, because what he would like as a single man, he wants to be the ambassador to the Dominican Republic. So he wants me to send him down there to party with the wonderful culture. Well, I have to find a Secretary of Defense. So if you're willing to do that before you become president, that would be something to put on your resume, Gina.
Perfect. Sounds great to me. Sign me up.
My question back to you. All right. If you took over my show tomorrow morning, wake up call with Gina Cittadino, who's on the show and what? 3 people.
Okay. My first person would be my sister Sophia because she's extremely funny. She probably thinks I'm not cool. Well, I think she did, but sometimes I don't think she does anymore because she's 15. But I think it would be entertaining. I think that there's a lot there, you know, Italian sisters and everything like that. So I think she would be a great one to come on the show. Okay. Another one who I think would be a good one on the show is my friend Hannah, because she's fabulous. And I swam with her in college. She was wonderful. I was her counter. She swam the long distance. I didn't. But I think that she is so funny, and we are opposites and almost joke that if we met on a different day, maybe we wouldn't be friends because sometimes we're so like different, crazy, but at the same time, we're like so the same. Yeah. So I think that would be funny. And if I had one other person, I don't know. It could be a lot of different people, obviously, because it could be anyone. But I don't know. Maybe it could be, you know, maybe it could be my mom, and we can go over we can't spill like the Italian recipes, but we could like talk about some, you know, good dishes to do or something. Keep it local. Keep it to the friends and family.
I like it. I appreciate it. You have a final question for me. What is it?
A final question for you is, who would be like, if you could be interviewed by like someone that you like find really cool, who would you want to be interviewed by?
No one has ever asked me this question. So I have many answers. Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart.
Oh, great.
Jim Carrey. I like making people laugh. So Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart, Jim Carrey. I'm going to pick one more. I would say if I'm going to pick somebody in the sports world, I'd like Damon Stoudemire to interview me because he's my favorite player growing up. And I waited 29 years to meet him. And I met him and I interviewed him and shook hands, hugged. One of the craziest, cool God moments of my life. And so Damon can interview me for sure. But yeah, definitely Jim Carrey, because I grew up on his comedy. I know Liar Liar by heart, beginning to end. Dave Chappelle, because I would consider that we could both make people laugh and we have deep thoughts. And then Kevin Hart, because I get really tan in my Hispanic Italian ways.
And and right now, the way that the lighting is in here, I'm darker than this wonderful lighting is making me look right now. But I get dark. And when I was down in Charlotte, a woman from Africa was my Uber driver, and I made her laugh a bunch of times on the way back to my hotel, and she called me her caramel Kevin Hart. So I'd love to talk to Kevin Hart about that and what he thinks that I could be milk chocolate. Maybe he'll like that. We'll see. So, and Kevin just came to Syracuse, so he was really funny. And shout out to the Plastic Cup boys, to Joey, Spank, and Naeem, who all came here, and that Joey Wells actually responded to me personally after I sent a video out thanking them for coming out. So shout out to Joey Wells, and appreciate the fact that they showed some love. So, okay, I really like that. Okay, so I want to stay with comedy.
Okay.
You have to pick the funniest person in your family, the funniest professional comedian, and the funniest teammate on the swim team. If they were all going to tour and do a show together, what famous comedian, what family member, and what teammate would have the best comedy show?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, we already talked about my sister being funny, so I think we have to do my sister. And I think, oh my gosh. Ooh, this is hard. I think my parents are going to see Jim Gaffigan in December, so we'll put him as my comedian. And on the swim team, you know what? There's a lot of funny on that team. Who would be funny? Oh. Oh my goodness. I'm going to say Michael Hahn. I think that man knows a little bit about everything. I'm not even joking. And I think he'd be funny.
All right. Fair enough. So Michael Hahn, Jim Gaffigan, who I have seen, and your sister got a shout out twice.
Yep.
On the show here today.
I know.
So sis, you better do something nice for your big sister here. Treat her right. So that being said, Gina Cittadino here, Le Moyne Swimming and Diving alum, 2025 NEC Scholar Athlete of the Year, and she is currently working in the dental world. She is going to be getting a further degree and more schooling at the University at Buffalo, and we are looking at our future dentist here. I just had 4 wisdom teeth plus a 5th one taken out, and it's been feeling kind of off after all this. Like it got better, now it's feeling kind of off. So the quicker that you can get your dental degree and licensing and all of that, Gina, I think I'm going to start coming to you rather than going to somebody else.
That sounds great. I can hook you up with all the works. I'll make sure you're well taken care of. Don't worry.
That's right. And I do not want any gold teeth, but it would be funny if we could put one over put one over a tooth so that I could bring it home and show my mom after I go to visit you and just be like, you know what? Gina thought I should try this out. She said that they're not that expensive. She's really new and she wanted to just see how this would be. She's trying some different promotions. So I'm her guinea pig for the gold tooth. I would love to bring that home and show my mom because she'll lose her mind. So with that being said, Gina, for you, your family, for the team, and for all that you're working to do, thank you for the positivity and the kindness. And as you and I have talked about off the air, this is just the beginning, and we will continue to talk with each other and maybe one day host an event called All Good Things End in a Vowel in Utica.
That sounds great. Thank you so much for letting me be on the show today and talking to you. It was wonderful. It was a great time as always.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food tastes delicious, what is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So Canine Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. Canine Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry-loving friend. Right, Lily? In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
All right, you need to come out here and get yourself the Brooklyn Pickle. I was talking about this with one of my buddies. I was like, yo, there's no better sandwich in the state of New York than the Brooklyn Pickle. And now that I found out that they're going down to North Carolina, we are taking over your taste buds everywhere you are, wherever you're going to be. You need to get yourself out to the Brooklyn Pickle. Pinehurst, you just realized that you found yourself the best sandwich shop that you're ever going to have. This is a glorious moment. It's a blessing to your community. You're welcome. Brooklyn in the house, baby. Go over to the Brooklyn Pickle. You already know what it is.
You heard the man. Head to Brooklyn Pickle Pinehurst on 1788 Old Morgantown Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina.
Pasiak here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, and I want to give a special thanks once again to Gina Cittadino, who joined me here and gave such an incredible account of her story, her time at Moyne, and everything that she learned, the person that she is. Of course, talking about her family, her mom, her dad, and her sister. So I cannot thank Gina enough for such a wonderful message this morning that hopefully made you laugh, brighten up your heart, and reminded you that Italians, well, we're good here in the culture. So with that being said, DT and DP is here for you. Speaking on the moves of the 2025 NBA offseason, including Mike Brown to the Knicks, as well as other moves that have happened, like some things that have happened very recently here with Chet Holmgren that we'll discuss. So some people staying put, some people going elsewhere. I believe the Kevin Durant 7-team deal is the largest deal ever as far as the amount of teams that were utilized in the deal. So we'll talk with Dave about that and more here this morning with the longtime basketball head coach and analyst, Mr. Pasiak. How we doing?
Doing great, Dan. How you doing today?
I'm doing well. So, I've got to start with Chet Holmgren here because I was just looking at this morning. So, Holmgren, Oklahoma City Thunder, obviously just won a championship. So, he has a ring. And on top of having a ring, he has a deal that could be worth, at the end of this all, $250 million. So, this is where we're at right now with Chet Holmgren of the Gonzaga Bulldog history. Fully guaranteed 5-year max rookie contract that can get to $250 million, as I stated. After missing 3 months during the season because of a hip injury, Holmgren returned in February and came back to help the Thunder win their first ever NBA title. So I want to give him a lot of respect and appreciation for that. The second youngest team in NBA history to win a championship, the Thunder have now locked in Holmgren and league MVP and finals MVP Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to long-term max extensions. Gilgeous-Alexander signed a 4-year, $285 million contract extension that will bring him through 2030-31's season. So, looking at that right now, Dave, we have the Oklahoma City Thunder who won their first ever NBA title. Then they had 2 picks in the first round thanks to a trade that they made in 2019 to send Paul George to the Clippers. And now they've locked in 2 of their starters that they needed to figure out what they were going to do with, that being Chet Holmgren and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Do the rich keep getting richer in young Oklahoma City?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about that during the playoff run a little bit. Like, the Thunder have been proactive about it. They locked up Gilgeous-Alexander with an extension, locked up Holmgren, 2 of their big 3 along with, Jalen Williams. So, all of that bodes well for the short to medium term for the Thunder. We talked about how, being as young as they are, it's a team that you would think should be right there in the conversation for NBA championships for the next decade. And certainly, locking up SGA and locking up Holmgren for the foreseeable future, those are really positive steps for the Thunder to keep themselves at that level. Now going forward, they're going to have to continue to pay the bill on, as more and more guys in their rotation, in their core, come due on contracts. They were in a really kind of unique place in that they had got, like Holmgren on rookie deal, other guys, on very team friendly deals. But now with success, it'll be very interesting to see how far a smaller market team like the Thunder, what their tolerance and what their willingness to go into the into the luxury tax will be as these guys start getting market value contracts.
Yeah. Like you said, that looking at what they need to do here, obviously they took care of business. They took in who they needed to take in and put themselves in a situation here to help themselves for the foreseeable future. But like you said, as a team continues to do well, that bill comes due. And even when there are contracts and there are years and there's plenty of time left on that contract, if they continue to win, there might be some guys that want to restructure and discuss how can we change this and make it better? Because obviously, when a team is winning, you want to strike while the iron's hot. And so that could be happening here with Oklahoma City if they continue to win. Some other people that maybe they didn't think of saying, I'd like to get a little bit more from this or a little bit more from that. I do want to make mention of another big man here, Kelly Olynyk. I covered him in college and also covered him in Summer League, and Summer League is going on right now. The Spurs have acquired Kelly Olynyk in a deal with the Washington Wizards, and God bless you, Dave, because I saw that. So the Washington the Washington Wizards are trading Kelly Olynyk to the Spurs for Malachi Branham, Blake Wesley, and a 2026 second round pick. And so the second round pick will be the least favorable of the selections from Dallas, Philadelphia, or Oklahoma City. So the deal gives the Spurs another big man after the free agent signing of Luke Cornett as they look to add more depth behind Victor Wembanyama. So the Spurs, obviously, in the changing of the guard from David Robinson to Tim Duncan, found success, found NBA championships, and were at the top of the mountain. Since then, it's been somewhat quiet at times in San Antonio. Victor Wembanyama getting some help in the front court. Where do you think the Spurs stack up, Dave, at this point?
Well, I think they're a team, Wembanyama is a guy that if he can stay healthy, um, kind of a transcendent talent in the NBA. Um, so he's obviously going to be the centerpiece of their franchise for the foreseeable future. The other interesting thing with San Antonio is now Popovich has kind of officially moved on from being the head coach to more of like the Godfather advisor type role. Um, so I think you'll see San Antonio start to, as Wembanyama continues to mature as a player, I think you'll see them continue to try to put the right pieces around him. Um, Kind of the way Milwaukee did as Giannis kind of began to mature as a player. I think that you'll see a similar track with San Antonio. The trick is going to be as they put those pieces together, if they get to a championship level, then how are they going to be able to maintain that, which is a challenge that the Bucks are finding right now with Giannis. They got the championship and kind of keeping that together again in a little bit of a smaller market team, and being able to uh, sustain that level of excellence is going to be interesting. But I think San Antonio, you'll see them really become more and more aggressive, I think, as Wembanyama blossoms into one of the premier players in the league.
Yeah, and that's as we see San Antonio, like you said, if he stays healthy, the world of San Antonio could get better, right? We could see some uptick here and we could see some good things happen for the San Antonio Spurs, but it's been a minute since we've seen the Spurs, like I said, at the top of all of this, and now they got to fight in the West with Oklahoma City. Looking in the East, the Orlando Magic, who I have been connected to for many, many years, over a decade, and spent a lot of time with Orlando Pro Summer League. I miss it. I'm sad that they don't do it anymore. There used to be one in Utah. I think there used to be one in Philadelphia. And there was one in Orlando, and Orlando had anywhere from usually 10 to 12 teams. I think one year they had 8. And I loved being down there. Well, now everything is really in Vegas outside of California, which has started things off a little bit earlier here in NBA Summer League. So, if I can say anything to the screen and to my second home of the great state of Florida, please bring back Orlando Pro Summer League, which is hosted by the Orlando Magic. I love my opportunity. I had the Magic. Typically, we had the Magic, the Brooklyn Nets, the Philadelphia 76ers, the Boston Celtics, the Indiana Pacers. So we had a lot of great teams that were down there. And just, I mean, to me, Oklahoma City Thunder had James Harden down there, had Paul George down there when he was originally into the league, been in the same room as Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, Patrick Ewing, Brad Stevens, Roy Williams, and so on and so forth. So I'd love to see it back in Orlando at the Kia Center, which used to be the Amway Center. But I digress. The Orlando Magic have Paolo Banchero. They have agreed to a 5-year, $239 million max rookie extension. It could get up to $287 million. Now, the new deal includes triggers to elevate the base salary to the supermax should the Magic franchise cornerstone make either an NBA All NBA team or earn MVP or Defensive Player of the Year honors next season. So that's how this deal rises up. Now, the deal has a player option for Banchero in 2030-31, which is the first time a rookie max extension has had a player option since 2021, when Luka Doncic of the Mavericks and Trae Young of the Hawks completed their rookie max contracts. So we have Wagner, we have Suggs, and newly acquired Desmond Bane. What are your thoughts on Orlando? They were in the basement of the NBA for a bunch of years after Dwight Howard left, and I truly believe that because I had interviewed Dwight Howard, been in that locker room. I said, when this man leaves, he's gonna leave a crater. He's gonna gut this team, and he did. And when that happened, which felt kind of like the rumble of Shaquille O'Neal, maybe not as big, but definitely felt the rumble of it. When Dwight Howard left, the Magic struggled for a long time, and they would have talent here and there, but typically out of the 15 teams on the east side, they were 14 at times, right there toward the bottom, second to the bottom. Now they're a team who has shown progress, shown that things are finally starting to turn around. Every franchise, after a certain amount of time with that they've been in the basement, we do seem to see this swing back in the right direction. Do you think the Magic are in a place right now where they have a good core and they can make a run at something and at least make things interesting in the East with, of course, injuries to Boston Celtics Jason Tatum, as well as knowing for sure that the Indiana Pacers are not going to have Tyrese Halliburton next season at all? Are the Magic in a prime place to make a run?
Yeah, I mean, I think Orlando, I think they probably see themselves as having a window of opportunity. Like you said, Boston, without Tatum and some of the peripheral moves they've made to reduce their salary cap load. Indiana without Halliburton and letting Miles Turner go. So I think that teams in the East, and the Magic being one of them, I think they see that it's a pretty wide open field right now. Um, I think Orlando's a team on the rise. Certainly, Cleveland, I think, is a team on the rise. Detroit, New York, I think those four teams probably see a little bit of opportunity there to go and snatch the East. And then Philly is, the great unknown. If they come back with everybody healthy, they're in the conversation. If not, then they won't be. But the Magic, I think they took a big step by locking up Banchero. I like the Bane move. I think that's a kind of a win now move. Like, we're trying to be aggressive.
Yeah.
I think Tyus Jones was a sneaky good free agent signing for them. So, I think Orlando is, I think they see a window of opportunity there and, kind of looking to capitalize on a little bit of the misfortune in Boston and Indiana.
Yeah, and when we look at Boston, we look at where they're at right now, the conversation of what is their plan for this upcoming season, and that plan, I do want to go to Brad Stevens' words. Brad Stevens, of course, who was the coach, and that's when I got to be around him, was the coach of the Boston Celtics and then moved into the front office. And moving into that front office, he has made some statements here. He said, quote, "We've known for a long time that hard decisions were coming." And then from there, he said, "The second apron is why those trades happened," speaking on Holiday and Porzingis. I think that is pretty obvious, and the basketball penalties associated with those are real. So that was part of making the decision to push and put our chips on the table and go for the last 2 years. End quote. Now, under the second apron, the Celtics are facing a new reality that's changing how they approach what comes next. As the team's president of basketball operations, Stevens knows the approach will have to change while Tatum is out. But as a former coach, he said he's never going to put a ceiling on any team's potential. He said, quote, "My expectations are always the same, compete like hell to win the next game," end quote. He doesn't want to hear any mention of the term rebuild for this upcoming season. He said, quote, "That's not going to be part of the lexicon in our building, and that's the way we're going to focus moving forward," end quote. So as we looked at this and looked at kind of what was going on, Dave, the reality of why were they doing this? Why were the Celtics allowing these players to move? Porzingis has only been there for a short amount of time. And of course, Drew Holiday is somebody that some fans have liked and seen a resurrection of his career. So the why does this happen? And then obviously the conversation of the money. You and I have talked about where things are with the luxury tax and the second apron. There's a first apron, a second apron. It's a very unique, I don't want to call it a unique because obviously there's different caps in different leagues, but there's a lot more than simply saying somebody's above the luxury tax in the NBA. And so I do want to get to a few more words here. Team owner Bill Chisholm, this is what Brad Stevens had to say about him. Quote, Bill has been pretty clear from the get-go that he wants to make sure that we're prioritizing basketball assets and the ability to retool this thing at the highest level that we can. The most important acquisition that we're going to be able to make in the next couple of years is getting Tatum out of a walking boot. We're not beating that one, so that's going to be the best thing that can happen for us, end quote. So would love to hear your thoughts on Brad Stevens saying, hey, you guys are wondering, Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis, yeah, we moved them because we don't want to be in the second apron. So what's your take on him saying, we did this looking at the money, and at the same time, we are not looking at this upcoming season without Jason Tatum as a wash?
Yeah, I mean, I think his comments were pretty transparent in that respect. I think the Tatum injury made those decisions easy for them. Um, if you're coming back with a healthy Tatum, and Jaylen Brown, do they have a little more pain tolerance to go into the second apron to try to, they were facing some really tough decisions, between Porzingis, Holiday, Horford still out there, probably not coming back. So Boston was going to have some really hard choices to make anyway. And I think with the Tatum injury, it made those decisions pretty easy. Because without Tatum, even if you run it back, do they have enough? Arguable. I think they'll be a good team next year, with Brown and White. And, I think they'll have enough run out there. So, I don't think they're going to crater to the bottom of the East by any stretch. But it's interesting. He said in one of the quotes you read, he says he's going to hear about rebuild, but then he talks about retool in the very next quote. So, it's a reset year for the Celtics. It really is. And I mean, I think his point is spot on about getting Tatum back. You're talking about one of the elite players of the league. If they get him back at the level he was at, and you keep him and Brown paired together, and 26, 27, they put some parts around them. Boston's right back in the conversation. So,
yeah, and I think Boston. I mean, yeah, you don't want to be in a rebuild mode. I mean, Boston has been very involved, right, in pretty much many, many seasons here of being a team that is going to either win a championship or fight for a championship, get themselves into the world of the postseason. So that's something to absolutely look at here. And I think that the frustration for fans in Boston now is something out of their control has happened. And when something out of your control happens, what are you going to do? Like you said, do they try to work something out with Porzingis if Jason Tatum doesn't get hurt? Do they feel like Drew Holiday is an asset if they're in a position like that, or do they let him go? So, I mean, something out of their control obviously affected things that they can control, and we'll see what the Celtics are going to look like. Jerry's a big time Celtic fan, and he's watching and listening right now, and he said that he's going to be putting his Celtic championship gear in mothballs for a few seasons right now, which is sad to hear, Jerry. And he said a KP was good when he played, too unhealthy. And yeah, I think that was the issue of him coming in as well. The 7-player deal that I wanted to get to, this is an historic deal for the NBA. No move in NBA history has ever involved 7 teams. What looked like it had originally just been the Rockets and the Suns, turns out that it was the Rockets, the Suns, the Nets, the Warriors, the Hawks, the Lakers, the Wolves in this deal. So I'm going to let you know the full deal of Kevin Durant. 7-team trade is the biggest as far as teams involved in NBA history. The Suns got Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, Kayman Malouk, and I might have said that wrong, Rashir Fleming, Kobe Brea, Daquan Plowden, and a second round pick. The Rockets got Kevin Durant and Clint Capella. The Nets got 2 second rounders. The Warriors got Alex Tuhey and Jemai Mashak. The Hawks got a second round swap, David Roddy and Cash. The Lakers got Ado Thero, and the Wolves got Rocco Zakarski and 2 first rounders as well as Cash. So it wasn't just the Suns and the Rockets. The Warriors, the Hawks, the Nets, the Lakers, the Wolves, all involved in this. So, I mean, Dave, let's break it down. It's the biggest deal in NBA history as far as the amount of teams that were a part of this. Sometimes two teams are looking for a third party to move some cash and maybe unload a player contract or two. In this case, we had 7 teams involved in the Kevin Durant deal.
Yeah, I think I mean, it's kind of a sign of today's NBA with the complexities of cap management and trying to stay out of the luxury tax. So I mean, the crux of the deal is Durant and Capella for Green and Brooks. I think everything that's around that with the other teams that are involved and the picks and the cash and the periphery players and rights and everything, those are all being done just those are all like salary cap management moves, um, just to make the numbers come out right so that the deal fits within the parameters of the CBA and whatnot. So you involve additional teams, and there's what's the incentive for the Nets get a couple of picks out of the deal, the Timberwolves get a couple of picks and some cash, right? A couple of second round draft picks moves. So those are kind of the peripherally pieces, and they kind of show you the complexity of trying to make deals in today's NBA with the CBA, with the salaries needing to match, the cap management and whatnot. We had a 16 deal a year ago. This is a 17 biggest deal in the history of the league as far as number of teams. I think you're going to continue to see complex deals like this, especially when it involves somebody like Durant, who's a max player. If you see a player of his stature with his contract situation move, it's almost always going to have to involve multiple other teams to make the numbers work, to make the salary cap and the trade parameters work according to the CBA.
Well, yeah, because I mean, the original look at the deal was that the Suns were getting all these picks, but we see a bunch of pieces move from this and involve a lot more names, a lot more teams, and put yourself in a situation where you have 30 NBA franchises, and so when we look at this, the biggest deal as far as the number of teams that has ever happened, 7 teams in one deal. That's 23% of the NBA was involved in that trade, which is crazy. I do want to get to, speaking of a deal that is done with a bunch of picks, we go back to that Orlando Magic move that brought in guard Desmond Bane. They had to give up 2 guards to get one, plus a bunch of picks. The Magic gave up Kentavious Caldwell Pope to the Memphis Grizzlies, as well as Cole Anthony. Gave up a 2025 first round pick, number 16, 2026 first round pick, swap rights from Phoenix or Washington, a 2028 first round, a 2029 first round swap, and a 2030 first round pick. So the Orlando Magic have mortgaged their future as well as 2 guards for Desmond Bane. Worth it, not worth it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it comes back to what we talked about. I think it's a good win now move for them. I think they upgrade with Bane. And I see that as a move where you're taking a couple of guys. Caldwell Pope, solid, good role player in the NBA, and Anthony, a guy with, with certainly with potential. But I think you kind of replace them with a guy like Bane, who I think is a significant upgrade. That's a win now. We're going to take our, in combination with locking up Banchero. I mean, Orlando sees an opportunity there, and I think they're. That deal is proof of that.
Yeah, I mean, and again, I mean, seeing how many picks they gave up, I thought it was the Toronto Raptors. But I mean, it's one of those things where hopefully the Magic can find their way to win now and see what they could do as they look to do that. There was obviously a bunch of trades during. I mean, it was crazy during the NBA draft to look next to whoever was picking and to see that the majority there was a full area of picks. There was like a giant block of picks that all came from somebody else. So it's like, here's who was supposed to pick, but here's who's going to pick. A lot of moves happening in the NBA draft as well, so that certain guys or certain teams could get to where they wanted to get to draft who they needed to for their future. So we did see that the Indiana Pacers have made a move. So they got a center Jay Huff with another deal with the Grizzlies. Grizzlies gave up second round pick and a second round pick swap. So, any thoughts on the fact that the Pacers were very quiet? We know they're not going to have Tyrese Halliburton, but they did make a deal to bring in somebody in their front court in Jay Huff. Any thoughts on the Pacers this year? Do you feel like they have any hope of making a move? I mean, Boston, Brad Stevens is saying, hey, we're not rebuilding. Where are the Pacers at? And does Jay Huff do anything knowing that Miles Turner is already gone?
Yeah, I mean, I think the Pacers are kind of in somewhat similar situation from the Celtics. Now, they're a team that historically has not gone into the luxury tax. With a healthy Halliburton, I think they had some decisions looming. I think they probably would have jumped into those waters, and I think they probably would have re-signed Turner. But I think, a guy like Huff, I mean, probably probably a downgrade over Turner. But it fills a niche for them, and I think they're going to be a team. And the one thing that they're not insulated from the Halliburton injury, but one of the things that I think cushions it a little bit is Indiana is another team that kind of like OKC. We talked about that in the finals. I think Indiana is a team that plays a lot of guys, relied on their depth. So I think they can absorb, the loss of Halliburton, um, absorb, letting Turner go, replacing him with Huff. I think they're a team because of how they play. I think they'll still be a competitive team. Kind of, I don't expect them to crater either. I think, the Pacers and the Celtics, I think, are kind of on a similar track where, they'll be competitive teams, maybe fighting for a play-in spot or kind of one of the lower seed 5, 6, or play-in tournament spot, in the mix there in the East. But I don't think that without their main guy, they're a realistic threat to win the East and get back to the finals. They're, I'm sure, looking at it a little bit like the Celtics about, 26, 27, we get our guy back, we'll make a move. So,
Yeah.
I think the Pacers are in a little bit of a holding pattern, the same way the Celtics are.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, I think the Pacers are in a place right now where it's like, let's not do too much. Let's not get ourselves in trouble here with any type of luxury tax or something of that nature. But, just being in a place where, and Jerry said, the second apron is a death sentence. Looking at the fact that they're not going to have their guy and what can they do to stay competitive, stay a playoff team, right? You want to keep the butts in the seats and you want to have those extra games to continue to bring your fans together, and you don't want to crater out. And I think, the Pacers definitely have talent. And Pascal Siakam, I mean, you got to give him a lot of credit for a lot of work that he's done. A lot of people talk about Halliburton, but again, I will talk about Siakam over and over again because I know his value to the Toronto Raptors and his value over many years for my Raptors, not just the 2019 title that they won in the NBA, their first as well. So I do want to get to one that happened very recently, just a couple days ago. This was a 3-team, 4-player deal. The Clippers, the Heat, and the Jazz. The Clippers got forward John Collins. Miami got, speaking of Raptor, guard Norman Powell, who used to be a Raptor. And the Utah Jazz got forward Kevin Love, a name that we had heard of a few years back, right, when we're talking about the Minnesota Timberwolves in the future and, connection to LeBron and all that stuff. Well, here goes Kevin Love to the Jazz, as well as forward Kyle Anderson. And the Jazz also got a 2027 second round pick via the Clippers. Thoughts on this move? Three team deal. John Collins to the Clippers, Powell to the Heat, Kevin Love, Kyle Anderson to the Jazz. Any winner here? Any thoughts on Kevin Love and if he's going to be a factor in Utah at this point in his career? Just what your take is.
Yeah, I mean, I think each team had their own, motivations. I think, Powell's a guy who could emerge as a high level guy, with an opportunity in Miami. I think, with Butler, they got rid of Butler during the season. I mean, he's a guy that I think could take a little bit of the scoring load pressure off of Hero and Adebayo. Um, you know, Heat are another team that's kind of in that, you know, contend for a playoff spot, not good enough to come out of the East, probably. But I think Powell, helps to keep them relevant. Um, y- you know, Collins, I've always kind of liked his game. Um, a guy that I think um, probably carve out a niche with the Clippers. In terms of the Jazz, um, I'm guessing that the Love thing is going to end up. I'm guessing that he's going to end up getting bought out. Um, doesn't seem. I mean, he's a veteran guy. He's had a great career, obviously. Um, he's on an expiring contract. He's not on the same timeline as the Jazz, who are a young team in in kind of the building mode. Um, Anderson, I don't know. I guess I'm kind of questioning where he fits in too. I think how that deal works out from a Utah perspective is going to depend largely on what move comes next from Danny Ainge, because it would seem like neither one of those guys are on the same timeline that the Jazz might be on in terms of, um, their growth and their kind of climb back to relevance. So my gut feeling says, Love gets bought out and Anderson may end up being part of another deal down the line.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, what this is going to look like overall for all these teams involved. The Utah Jazz. I mean, do you feel that the Jazz at this point have an identity? I mean, like I grew up spoiled because I had Karl Malone and John Stockton, but do you feel like today's Jazz have a place in the West?
I think it's a tough market. Um, it's a tough market because like, I think you don't think of Salt Lake City as like a destination location in the NBA.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit different environment culturally too. Um, so uh, I think they're a team. I mean, they went ahead and drafted Bailey, and I think a lot of what happens in the near term with them is going to be tied to how Bailey progresses. And if I mean, Utah wasn't one of the teams that he supposedly were one of his preferred destinations, and the Jazz, I think to their credit, went ahead and took him anyway. As probably the best talent on the board at the time. So, I think if Bailey becomes um, a high level NBA player, I think he can be the kind of the centerpiece of their rebuild. Um, if not, I think the Markkanen's is a nice NBA player. Um, I don't know. I mean, it'll be very, like I said, it's going to be tied largely to um, to Bailey's development, I think.
Yeah, I mean the Utah Jazz. I like I like that, Dave. I don't think Salt Lake City is a destination place, but not easy to get to from Syracuse. I will say that. But I do want to get to a place that is easy to get to and very easy to get to from Syracuse. It is less than a 45-minute plane ride, and that is to New York City. And New York is going to have at Madison Square Garden Mr. Mike Brown. He has become the head coach. The question became, who are the Knicks going to get? And they said that the Knicks allegedly were kind of looking all over the place at different coaches at different opportunities. And the Knicks ultimately going Mike Brown. I would imagine this is how I think about it. I would like to say that I have somewhat of a pulse because I'm not too far away from the New York City and the five boroughs area. And I travel down there pretty much, well, yearly now. So I think whoever the Knicks got as the head coach, people were going to complain because it's New York. But Mike Brown, when you look at him, Dave, he was an assistant coach with Washington in 1997-98 when he started his career in the NBA there as an assistant. So 97, 98, 98, 99. Then he went to the San Antonio Spurs for a couple seasons, or 3 seasons, I should say, 2000 to 2001, 1 to 2, 2 to 3. Then he was an assistant in Indiana from 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Then he became the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers in 2005-6 and was with them until 2009-10. When we look at his records in Cleveland as a first-time head coach in the NBA, 50 and 32, 50 and 32, and they were the Eastern Conference champions in his second season there. Then 45 and 37, then 66 and 16, amazing. Then 61 and 21, 41 and 25 when he went to the Lakers in 2011-12. That was his record there as a head coach until the next season in 2012-13. He only coached 5 games as the head coach and was 1 and 4. Then he went back to Cleveland, was 33 and 49 from 2013 to 14. Then he went to Golden State and became an assistant coach, left the head coaching ranks, became an assistant from 2016-17 through 2021-22, and then became the head coach of the Sacramento Kings in 2022-23 all the way up to 2024-25 this past season, where he was 48 and 34, 46 and 36, and then with the San Antonio Spurs Sacramento Kings this past season, for the 31 games that he was the head coach, he was 13 and 18. So we have seen some really high moments in Cleveland, obviously connected with LeBron James. We've seen some really good records really there in Cleveland, which a lot of people know Mike Brown for what he did there. We've seen him be a part of championship caliber teams when he's in Golden State. And most recently in Sacramento, he was let go after 31 games. So Mike Brown, win for the Knicks? Not a win. Keep in mind that no matter what you say, Dave, people were going to complain. I think if Jesus Christ himself was the head coach of the Knicks, somebody would have a problem with how he coaches. So, what do you think about Mike Brown to the Knicks? We've seen really successful moments, struggling moments. We've seen him become a head coach, be relieved of his duties. Now he's in New York. What are your thoughts?
I don't know. I mean, like to me, they fired Thibodeau, who I think has a ceiling as a coach, and I kind of and he's also a guy that like had been criticized for not being particularly creative offensively and whatnot. To me, you're hiring more of the same when you hire Mike Brown. Like you're hiring a guy that I think has somewhat of a ceiling, and I think he's another guy who one of the criticisms of him again has been that he's not particularly creative on the offensive side of the ball. And, he's, when you separate LeBron from him, he's kind of a middling has been somewhat of a middling NBA coach. I mean, I think there's worse hires out there. Like to me, the move that was, and I don't know any of the personalities or backstage politics or any of that involved, but to me, the move that was screaming to be made was Michael Malone. Like he's a New York guy, and I thought he was by far the best candidate on the market. But it seemed like he got no traction, and then they moved off of Jenkins, who got fired at Memphis pretty quickly. So Mike Brown's I think he's a safe hire. I just don't know that he moves the needle with the Knicks. beyond where they were with Thibodeau.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, with this Knicks team being in a place that, I mean, New York is New York, and so people are going to complain. But like you said, I don't know that this Mike Brown. And I don't mean any disrespect to Mike Brown when I say this. I feel like he's just a bridge. Like I feel like in 2 or 3 years they're going to switch coaches again, and we're going to be talking about this probably 2 years from now, 2 years and some change. But there was a note that I wanted to talk about, and reminded me of the movie Eddie with Whoopi Goldberg as the Knicks head coach. That they allegedly were looking at Don Staley. Any thoughts on that?
That's absurd. I mean, to me, it's absurd. I mean, um, your team that is, um, you're trying to position yourself to make a run in an NBA championship, and you're going to entertain high, and I mean, no disrespect to Dawn Staley. She's been a phenomenal women's college basketball coach, but you're going to turn the reins of a team that you um, envision as a contender for Eastern Conference championship and reaching the NBA Finals and playing for an NBA championship. You're going to turn it over to Dawn Staley. Like, to me, that, I don't know where that talk started. If it was serious on the Knicks part, I would be shocked. Like, to me, that move is absurd.
Well, I mean, in the thing, and I think Dawn Staley's done such an incredible job, and she's built herself a dynasty. She's doing amazing work when it comes to South Carolina, and she is one of the. I mean, she's the reason why I pay attention to South Carolina, and she is a huge reason why I've become more into the worlds of women's basketball in the here and now. I mean, I've always covered it since the beginning of my career, which started back in November 2003. But seeing what she's done with that, I mean, it used to be UConn in Tennessee, and to see South Carolina come up the way that they've come up, if they don't win a national championship, it's a year where they didn't do what needed to be done, and I think that has been a huge thing, is that she's created such a standard and such a reality in South Carolina that is a force to be reckoned with, and I respect the heck out of that. So I'm very happy with the work that she's done. It just did. I mean, it reminded me, if there was any truth to it, it reminded me of the movie Eddie, and that's the thing where it's is it a publicity stunt? Did somebody leak it out there just for the sake of keeping the Knicks on the front page or the back page or whatever it may be? It seems like there's things that happen with New York teams like the Giants and the Knicks and the Jets that may not be true at all, but it's just to keep them in the paper. So, ultimately they decide on Mike Brown. Again, I think this is a filler. I'm not disrespecting him. I do not believe that he is the future of the Knicks. I think that he is the right now because we didn't have a better idea, so we're going to put him here until we decide to go and get somebody in a couple of years. It's almost like they didn't have a plan, so they went to this plan so that they can work on the plan. And I don't think this is going to be a long marriage. I really don't. And I feel bad for Mike Brown because I don't feel like it's fair to him to kind of just utilize. And people say, well, he's going to get paid and he's going to do this, going to do that. He's going to be in New York. So why is it not fair? I just feel like this is another piece of his career that's going to be a short lived time period until they move on to somebody else. I just feel like the Knicks, once again, because they've done this before, Dave, they didn't have a plan. And I don't think they had a plan here. And I think that it's showing that they really didn't know what they were going to do. So they did this I think this is a for now move, not a forever move, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I think, I mean, to your point, Dan, most teams, if you whack a guy like Thibodeau, who, had gotten them to a certain point, when you whack a guy like that, you've already got it in your mind who you're going to replace him with and why that's going to be an upgrade. I mean, you can go back to Mark Jackson getting whacked by the Warriors years ago, and they had Steve Kerr waiting in the wings that they thought would upgrade their situation. When Detroit whacked Carlisle to replace him with Larry Brown, like, if you're going to whack a guy who's had a certain level of success, you had better know what you're going to follow it up with. And just the way the process took in New York, where, it took seemingly forever for them to land on Mike Brown. Um, I think you're right. I think the Knicks, I think they've got an impulsive owner, and they don't seem to always um, be making decisions with a lot of foresight.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, it seems like something that plagues these New York franchises. These kind of scratch your head moments, and some of these things that feel like they were done not so much for the coaching or the player aspect of it, but just for the publicity, just for the newspaper, just to stay relevant. I've said for a long time, and I think they're moving off of this, but I said for a while that the New York Jets aren't a football team; they're a Broadway show, and I feel that now, hopefully, that's shifting with Aaron Glenn. He's instituted Bible study as part of the curriculum of bringing this team together and getting them set for the season. And I don't think anything gets you set better for life, football, or whatever it may be than your relationship with God. So I will say that I think the Jets might be moving in a better direction. But I look at the Giants, and I mean Darren Waller, for goodness sakes, I made a joke about this earlier in the week. He retired from football under contract with the Giants, and then he unretired and moved to Miami, and now he's going to be with the Dolphins. So I'm like, hey, I guess one way to get away from a New York-based team is to retire, kind of, sort of. But ultimately, with the Knicks, it is. It feels like more of the same, Dave. It feels like when something good happens, they ruin it, and when they don't know what to do, they kind of fumble into a deal. I can't say that the Knicks. I like Jalen Brunson. I mean, obviously, there's some moves that they've made that I like, but I'm saying that by and large, overall, when you look at the franchise, since Patrick Ewing and Allen Houston and Chris Childs and Charles Oakley and so on and so forth, I feel like the Knicks have kind of just been this every few years, let's try this and then let's try that. But I don't feel like they're putting together the right recipe to win an NBA title or even genuinely be there at the end in the finals. I know this year they had a good run and this year they did some good things, but ultimately, Dave, I don't feel like the Knicks have a lot of relevancy in good decision making like they did in the past. I feel like they're here because they're the Knicks and we talk about them because they're in New York and they play in the Garden. But I don't feel like we're ever really talking about the Knicks because they've consistently made an effort to layer themselves into a place where they can win a title.
Well, here's the thing about the Knicks is for years, the talk is, New York and the Knicks always get mentioned as a destination for free agents, right? Um, the Knicks are going to be involved with this guy, that guy, LeBron James, or whoever else happens to be on the free agent market. And yet the Knicks end up never really being players. And I think a lot of that has to do with kind of the quirkiness and the instability of their ownership and their management. So I don't think that because of how the franchise has been run, I don't think that necessarily they are a desirable free agent destination for a lot of guys. And I mean the Mike Brown thing. If Mike Brown was their guy, he should have been named the coach like 3 days after they whacked Thibodeau.
Yeah.
But instead, they just kind of floundered around and they're talking to a million guys. And um, yeah, the Knicks, and I think it starts with ownership.
Yeah.
They're somewhat of an impulsive organization, and I mean they're on the precipice right now. Especially with what happened with Boston, Indiana, and the East. I mean, the Knicks should be, if not the favorites, one of the favorites to come out of the East next year, and yet it doesn't really feel like it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That's a good point.
I don't know. I mean, at some point, will they step into a pot of gold? We'll see.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, and great point. I mean, the Knicks should be a front runner right now, right? Because who stood in their way? The Indiana Pacers. Now the Pacers don't have Halliburton and they don't have Miles Turner, so you would think that the Knicks could take that next step. But again, as you said, as much as it should be, it doesn't feel like that. And I think that this move to bring in Mike Brown showed that they weren't prepared. And I've said this about other franchises in the past. If you're going to fire someone, have a plan. What did my dad always tell me? Don't leave your current job until you know that you're going to be somewhere else. And in the case of the Knicks, it was like, we're going to do this, and then we're going to sit here and you're going to question what the hell our plan is, and maybe we don't know. And I feel like in a place like New York, in a franchise like the Knicks, you better dang well know who you're going to. I mean, you should know who you're going to hire. You should have a plan if you're going to let somebody go. But when it comes to the Knicks, it does. I mean, it's like as time goes by, what was the plan? Did you have one? And what was Thibodeau really that bad? I guess that's a question I asked you, Dave, in our final piece here this morning on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. I put both polls up here on X, the former Twitter. You can vote in them this morning, and I hope that you do. All you have to do is follow us at CallDT. That's CALLDT on X. The question: do you like the New York Knicks' decision to hire Mike Brown as their new head coach? Early voting says yes. And then I just put up: did the New York Knicks make the right decision when they chose to fire Tom Thibodeau? And you could vote yes or no. Both of those polls, once again, are on X at CallDT. That's CALLDT. Follow me there and vote in the polls. So the question that I bring to you, Dave, is did Tom Thibodeau do such a bad job? Like, was what he was doing not good enough to the point where he needed to be let go? I have my feelings, I have my thoughts, and I don't want to load the question, but was it the right move, in your opinion?
I have never been a big Thibodeau guy.
Okay.
So, I mean, my answer is going to be slanted a little bit by that. I felt like he's always a guy, historically throughout his career, can squeeze a little bit extra out of a team in a regular season at the expense of them not being at their best at the end of the season. And I think that's been, that was his MO in Chicago, in Minnesota, in New York. I've felt like, he doesn't trust his bench. He doesn't trust his younger players, runs his core guys into the ground, and then they're not at their best in the biggest part of the season. So I get the Knicks move to part ways with him because, like I said, I think he's a little bit of a ceiling coach. He can get you to a ceiling, but can he get you all the way to an NBA championship? I don't know. I have my doubts there. So I don't have a big problem with with the Knicks moving on from him. I think my bigger problem is and it's not so much Mike Brown is like it's how they got from Thibodeau to Mike Brown. Like I said, I thought when they whacked Thibodeau, I thought the move that was screaming to be made was Michael Malone, and I thought that would be a done deal within a matter of days. And it just, for whatever reason, it sounds like he didn't even really get a whole lot of traction there. And maybe that was what they were thinking when they fired Thibodeau.
Yeah.
And because they couldn't get together with Malone, then it was like, oh crap, what are we going to do now? Now you heard all kinds of names from Mike Brown to Don Staley to this NBA assistant or that assistant. Then all of a sudden they're all over the map. So, that's kind of my thoughts on the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, and Thibodeau, after coming into the NBA as an assistant with Minnesota back in 1989-90, and then over to the Spurs, the 76ers, he was an assistant coach with the Knicks back in 1996-97 and all the way through 2002-03, and then went to the Houston Rockets and the Boston Celtics, became the head coach of the Chicago Bulls at 2010-11, went 62-20, 50-16, 45-37, 48-34, 50-32. Then he went to Minnesota, became the head coach 2016-17, went 31-51, 47-35, and then in just 40 games coached in Minnesota in 2018-19, went 19-21, and then in the COVID year 2020-21 with the Knicks, 72 games when he first came in to the New York Knicks franchise, 41-31, 37-45, 47-35, 50 and 32, 51 and 31. So in his career, he's just danced around the 45 to 50 wins in the regular season. You can see that as you look through it, which is why I brought it up. Outside of a 62 and 20 season with Chicago, that this is what we're seeing: 50, 45, 48, 50, 47, 47, 50, 51. He's right around that 45 to 50 wins a season in the regular season out of 82 games. And so, I mean, we'll see what ultimately happens here with Tom Thibodeau and his future. And of course, seeing that he was kind of on the equator, was that not enough? Do they think Mike Brown could take them over? Only time will tell. But Dave and I are always here to talk with you about the NBA moves. Can anybody top Kevin Durant? Can you give me 8 teams? Let's see if something can happen here in the not too distant future. In the meantime, for Dave Pasiak, longtime basketball head coach and analyst, I appreciate him as always. My better half for DT and DP. Dave, thank you for your time. And as always, I look forward to talking with you soon.
Yeah, it's great to talk with you as always, Dan. Listen, my brother's going to be a little upset because we didn't get to the Bradley Beal talk, but we'll save that for the next go round.
Yeah, you tell your brother that Bradley Beal will be next up. He has my word. We will start with Bradley Beal. And in the meantime, my best to the Pasiak family. God bless as always, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, take care, Dan.
Take care. That coming once again from Dave Pasiak here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. I want to thank you for tuning into the show as always here on Wake Up Call, where sports meets that thing called life. I want to thank my incredible guest today, Dave Pasiak, who is a mainstay on the show, and the new guest that we have, but someone that will always have a place here, Gina Cittadino. I want to thank her for being a part of the broadcast as well. Of course, you've been with us on youtube.com and facebook.com, both /wakeupcalldt, and you have also been with us on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com. So however you're connected with the show, we thank you so much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life, Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And of course, you have the opportunity to connect with us on all of our platforms here. You could find us on Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, as well as iTunes and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Many thanks to our wonderful North Carolinian listeners and people that visit the great state of North Carolina. I will be down there this month as I proudly cover the ACC kickoff by the grace of God. And the Brooklyn Pickle is down there in Southern Pines, North Carolina. You'll find them down the road from Pinehurst Golf Course, which the PGA Tour knows all too well. Less than 10 minutes away from Pinehurst Golf Course, you will find the Brooklyn Pickle on 1788 Old Morganton Road in Southern Pines, North Carolina. Go and visit them today and let them know that DT sent you. And a big time thanks to our team of partners in Central and Upstate New York, Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel, DeWitt as well. And at Carvel, I do want to make mention here, not only do we have our DT Dolphin Sunday that is available every single day of the week, but on Wednesdays it's buy one, get one. You can BOGO the DT Dolphin today and every Wednesday on 4322 East Genesee Street in DeWitt, New York. It is the only Carvel that has the DT Dolphin, because I believe it's the only Carvel that has a dolphin chocolate piece that is in there. They had to find the cast. They had to look for it and go and get the cast that they could put the chocolate in to create the dolphin, because Carvels don't even have the dolphin cast. So make sure you get it today, the DT Dolphin at Carvel DeWitt. And of course, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Chick-fil-A Cicero, Brian's Landing, Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Pizza Man, Mother's Cupboard, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, Avicoli's, and of course, we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Moyne College Dolphins, Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse, and Binghamton University Bearcats. You'll find the Dolphins every Wednesday like today during Dolphin Time at 9 a.m. Eastern Time, and you'll also find them on our Moyne playlist on our YouTube channel on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. The Bobcats are with us every single month with the Bobcat Buzz. You can find all of that on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt on the BSC Syracuse playlist. And of course, you'll find the Bearcats every Tuesday during Bearcat Time at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And the Bearcats are on youtube.com /Wake Up Call DT under the Binghamton playlist. You'll find all of our content with each of these schools by going to youtube.com/Wake Up Call DT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and as I stated, find the Lemoyne playlist, the BSC Syracuse playlist, and the Binghamton playlist. Each of these wonderful schools are with us on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage, on the homepage as well as underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information on the Dolphins, go to LeMoyneDolphins.com. On your Bobcats, go to Syracuse.bscbobcats.com. And for your Bearcats, go to BinghamtonBearcats.com. Here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, thanks once again to Gina Cittadino, Dave Pasiak, and you for watching and listening. Find us on all our social media 24/7, Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, and Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, go and visit them on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday for sales and service. And get a sneak peek by going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com today. And of course, let them know that DT sent you. We will talk with you soon. God bless. No stress. Do your best. Have a wonderful day. Stay safe and be good to yourself and each other.